Hello and welcome, everyone. Uh, I'm pleased to join you as your moderator this session. My name is Alissa Harrington. I'm from Towson University. And today we're going to be talking about Spotlight on AI, Generative AI, a new frontier for higher education pedagogy. And today our presenter is Shawn Crosby. Yay! So Shawn is a senior instructional designer at College of, I'm sorry, Community College. Too many C's in there, Shawn.
It is a lot of C's.
Community College of Baltimore County, with over 10 years of experience in instructional and educational technology, specializing in empowering educators to use LMS and generative AI to create equitable, accessible online learning experiences. He integrates AI to enhance student engagement and personalize learning in evolving educational environments. I'll be moderating this chat throughout the session, but that said, if you have a question that might be easier to say than to type, go ahead and raise your virtual hand, and I'll be sure to let Shawn know that someone has a question, and then we'll ask you to come on off of mic. So without further delay, I'm going to kick it off and hand it over to Shawn.
Great. Thanks, Alissa. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. The presentation for Generative AI, New Frontier, Higher Education Pedagogy. I guess just a little background. This presentation was born out of Maryland Online Leadership Institute, where I took part in it 2 years ago, back in summer of 2023. And our project we worked on was about generative AI and raising awareness at the time. That was 2 years ago, and a lot has changed since. At the time was helping raise awareness and gaining some AI literacy for faculty and for students to take back into the classroom. So that's what our goal is here today. There will be some, you'll see some introductory type things, but we'll get into some more detailed stuff as well later on. So anytime I have done this presentation or similar one, I always like to kind of just give a scope of AI and generative AI and just how massive it is. Back in November of 2022, ChatGPT was launched. And within the first 5 days, it gained 1 million subscribers. To put that into perspective, it took Instagram 2.5 months. It took Netflix over 3.5 years just to reach that plateau. And, can go down the list of many others that took, just as long, if not longer, in some cases, of major companies that are a big part of us today. So that's just how big it is. And I looked it up yesterday. ChatGPT currently has over 300 million weekly users, with over, I think it was 12 million paid. And of those 300 million weekly users, 70 million of them are just here in the U.S. So, generative AI is here, and, it's probably not going to go anywhere. So, it's about, as, we always have disruptors in higher education. How do we adapt to the new landscape of things that are going on in higher education? This was just a survey by the Digital Education Council survey that just asked students about their use of AI. Just to give some background, 86% in this survey, students claim they are using it in some sort of method within their study. So, students are using it, workplaces, the workforce is using it, taking part in a faculty connections group here at CCBC, and one of the instructors, who's a faculty member in legal studies, mentioned he took part in a panel, and there was people from the workforce and their electricians, and I can't remember who else, but he was amazed at how much electricians are using it. They're using it to look up code. So students need to have some sort of literacy or just awareness of skills going into the workplace now of how AI can assist them in whatever job they're doing. I'm also found, while I was looking for a more updated recent statistics, I found College Park did a survey of their students and faculty, and it was around 25-30% of instructors were using it or plan to use it, where about similar numbers where about 50% or more students were already using it in some sort of fashion within their studies. With AI in itself is not new. AI has been probably a part of our life for a very long time. AI has been around in some fashion since the 1950s when Alan Turing tested for machine intelligence. The first chatbot, which we all love chatbots and talking to Verizon and all those others, was first developed in the 1960s, in 1966. In the 90s, the computer defeated the chess champion, Watson. The first self-driving car was introduced in the 80s. And then, more recently, Google, that's a search engine, runs on AI. That was developed in the late 90s. Roombas, we all probably at one time or another have encountered or have our own Roomba that may be running right now. That is AI driven. So AI has been a part of our lives and, big part of our lives forever. Alexa, Siri, and I apologize if I set off any watches or phones there. Those are AI. They are AI driven chatbots or virtual assistants, that have been a part of our lives for almost 15 years now, at least a decade, since, Alexa was created by Amazon. Then in the 2020s and 2022, ChatGPT came about, and then everyone else followed. Microsoft with Copilot, Google with Gemini. At one point, it was Google was called Bard, Microsoft Copilot, Claude, and probably sit here and list tools out for the next 3 hours and still not be anywhere close to how much is out there. They all started to follow over to the last couple of years. So one thing I like to do with everybody is kind of help just learn some vocabulary that is going to come up as you're working with artificial intelligence. This is just a quick little quiz that we'll do with Mentimeter. You can scan the QR code on your screen. We'll see it'll just say the thing hasn't started yet. I have to start it once I stop sharing the presentation. Or you can go to menti.com and use the code to join it as well if you would like to. Let's give you a couple of seconds to get in there. I'll bring this over here, and I'm going to start it. And Mentimeter is a free tool. You can use it. It limits you to 50 participants a month just to create engaging quizzes within your classroom. Also has an AI component built into it that can help with creating questions. I think that's what the paid version. Just when I went in there yesterday, I noticed it. So not entirely sure how it works, but that they do have an AI component to it, just like pretty much every other tool available to us today. So I'm going to start the quiz, and the code is on here as well. And there's also a QR code that you could join as well. But if everyone's ready, we'll go ahead and get started. See, about 15 of you are in there. And again, this is just a fun little engaging thing you can get your students engaged with in your class. You can create as many quizzes as you want. But like I said, with the free version, it is limited in terms of participants. I'll go ahead and get started. So the quicker you answer, the more points you'll earn for the leaderboard. So the first question, a type of technology that uses AI to create content, including text, images, and code. Is that a large language model, machine learning, or generative AI? And generative AI is correct. Generative AI is ChatGPT. All those tools, you put in a prompt and it creates whatever it is that you're looking for. It could be an image, could be text, could be some coding for something. And take a look at the leaderboard here, and we'll see. It's like Mary Lou's at the top to kick us off. And so get ready for the next question. An AI model that's trained on a large amount of text so it can understand language, generate human-like text, i.e. like ChatGPT. Those are large language models, augmented intelligence, or adaptive learning model. large, whoops, sorry about that. Large language model is correct. Not sure why that happened. But large language models, and most of them now, you can also tell with like ChatGPT, you could tell with um, Gemini, you could tell it not to learn based on the data you input to it, which is something new. It is optional with some of them, but you could tell them, especially in paid versions, hey, I don't want you to train your model on what I input here. So that is something good to know about. But large language models are what ChatGPT, Gemini, Gemini, which is Google's, runs also off of Google search engine as well. But it is also constantly learning based on, what you put in there. There was, when the tools were still pretty new, they were feeding it information of how to do the SATs, the boards for, certifications, the bar exam. Those first few times it bombed those exams, but like by the third, fourth time, they were acing all those. So it learns as you input things. And you can also train it to learn who you are. So if I'm using ChatGPT and it recognizes that, hey, I'm an instructional designer, it can start responding to me and in those ways. If you create an account ChatGPT, because you can not have an account and use it, but if you have your own account with it, it can learn who you are and respond to you in ways that you're looking for it to respond to you with. So next question. This is a subfield of AI that allows computers to learn from data without explicitly being programmed. Oh, everyone's voting. And so this is machine learning. Computers are similar to large language models and algorithms. Computers learn from each other, learn from what gets inputted to them. We'll talk about it in a little bit. As we take a look at the leaderboard, of bias and biases and stuff like that to be considered as you take a look at what these tools, as Ellie is our winner. Sorry, I don't have any prizes, but this is just something, the tool to double that you can use in your own classroom if you weren't already aware of it. But as I said, things to consider as we get into as you start using it more and more, or even teaching your students, because be real, just like using plagiarism checkers, and as when I was in college, the issues were using don't use Wikipedia, things like that. Teaching our students, best practices on using it, not just going there copy and pasting, but really showing them to critical think of between the tools, taking a look at the outputs. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is there a bias in there? Because again, these are trained still by humans at this point. So, there may be inherited biases that come in with this. But with using AI, you can add value to the classroom, to support career readiness, as I kind of mentioned before. It's being used in the workforce, to help our students be prepared as they enter the workforce, develop critical thinking skills, increase student engagement, generate ideas, for, hey, I throw a prompt in there. I have, I'm thinking about doing X, Y, Z in my classroom. What can I do, to help engage students? Can help with provide real-time feedback, help improve your own time efficiency, and obviously can be used for gaining data and making decisions with that. So in terms of career readiness, thinking about the crossover skills, critical thinking, data analysis, communication skills, obviously help with grammar, tone of something that you need to write, help with problem solving, can't figure it out or anything. It can help with decision making, adaptability, and help with collaboration across different fields. So hey, maybe there's a term someone doesn't understand. Ask for the definition. Can be in there. With developing critical thinking skills, it can evaluate and compare the outputs of any model. So if you have a prompt you want to use in class or something with your students, have different students put it into different tools. Someone uses ChatGPT, someone maybe uses Gemini, Claude, whatever tools are at their disposal. Have them evaluate and compare those outputs. It's going to give them different outputs because different people have trained the models. So have them compare those to see what's right, what's wrong. Maybe there's bias in their answer. Help develop their own methods for detecting bias, as I've mentioned. Having them double check to see if there's any inherited bias in there. Have them participate in AI-powered debate simulations, have them run different prompts and different tools, and go back and forth and chat and see how it turns out. Engage in open-ended projects, develop their own proposals. They can take their basic proposal and ask ChatGPT or any of the tools to help beef it up. Maybe it can help, give them some ideas of how to solve a real-world problem. And again, analyze, those outputs that ChatGPT and all those give you. How it can detract from, reflect on how AI can support or detract from their learning. In terms of student engagement, those tools are really good in, assisting in it. I put in prompts to say, hey, I'm looking to do X, Y, Z in one project. Because I also teach our freshman seminar course at CCBC. So later in the semester, when we get to time management, I ask ChatGPT, hey, what's something I could do based on the assignment I already give students to complete, which is kind of look at where they're spending their time and then reflect. But now I'm also going to have them, based on what I went back and forth in ChatGPT, I'm going to have them also put in their time and ask ChatGPT of how it can better prioritize their study time, better prioritize, time with family, whatever their weaknesses they feel in their time management skills currently. I want to have them put that into ChatGPT and develop a schedule for them that they can hopefully use moving forward for the rest of the semester, or maybe, for indefinite amount of time. So, developing those interactive simulation or games, can help with creating games. There's Jeopardy tools out there. It's always a common one. Magic School AI, which is a very cool AI tool that can help with creating games as well. Virtual lab experiments, field trips can help with, creating those virtual experiences or defining, what goes on at a certain place. Personalizing their learning journey, so adaptive learning. If a student doesn't do right on this quiz, maybe they get this material and so on and so forth. Helping with creating those adaptive quizzes and personalized learning experiences within the class. Can help with creating chatbots. ChatGPT, it is unfortunately now behind their paywall, but you can create GPTs within ChatGPT that can act like a chatbot. You can upload with the GPT. Anyone can create it. You can have it be private or public, up to you. But you can create one that basically serves as a chatbot for your class. Upload any information you want to it: syllabus, course schedule, FAQ pages, whatever you want to have to it, and it could serve as a chatbot for your class. Unfortunately, that has been paywalled. It was free, but as with everything, it seems to always go behind a paywall. But it could be something where you buy for a month, it's $20, and then cancel it. Your GPT is still there. The only thing I don't know if you just wouldn't be able to create a new one or anything like that. You'll still be able to edit the ones you have, though. Students can help create study guides based on the content that's been presented to them or the objectives. And I can also help with creating brainstorming sessions for ideas as well. With personalized feedback, it can help with helping students understand where they went wrong. Maybe they just fell off the cliff when answering the prompt. They just did not get there. It can also help identify any misconceptions or mistakes they made, down to grammar, if grading for grammar, punctuation, and all that. Maybe also help revise their thinking based on whatever the prompt is. In terms of generating ideas, these are just some tools that are out there. There's tons more that just don't have the space to list. For using brainstorming, Muse or Brainstormer is a good tool. Mind mapping, MindMeister or Murgeon is a cool tool as well to use for mind mapping. Data Insights, Google Trends, Keyword Planner, Obviously, if your institution has Power BI, that has AI built into it as well. Or if you're using a CRM, those have AI built into them as well to help with pulling data. If you wanted to create like sort of what if scenarios or narratives or stories, narratives AI or story.ai are great tools for that. If you wanted to create AI generated images, DALI, which ChatGPT bought, or Midjourney, Midjourney still free. DALI was bought by ChatGPT, so it's embedded in there. Adobe has something called Firefly, that's also still free, regardless if you have the Creative Cloud account or not. Research assistants, Gemini, again, like I said, it's tied to Google's search engine, so you have access to Google Scholar, within Gemini. And Gemini is free, just like ChatGPT, but there's paid versions. Another cool research tool that came across recently is called Alissa. Also, Perplexity can help with research as well, as it will show, pull up, give you the sources as well. And ChatGPT has gotten better with pulling resources too to help with research.
Hey, Shawn.
Yeah.
Quickly, someone has asked, well, I know we'll be sharing the recording of this presentation. Will the slides also be available to the attendees?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, slides will be available too. So in terms of proving your own time efficiency, think about, how AI can help you, in automating some tasks that, may take some time that you can that you do, helping with creating a syllabus or course outlines, lesson plans, creating learning objectives, or I hate creating rubrics. I'll just tell you, rubrics are not my favorite thing in the world to create. So it can obviously help create a rubric. Developing exam questions or study guides. It can help with creating questions for you. At certain points, you just kind of get stuck after you've been sitting there creating 100-question exam. That you may change up every few semesters. So this can help in creating different versions of your exams based on already what's there. Obviously, you still need to go back and review it, but just to help give you some more ideas. And in a way, it can help with grading if you tell it, the criteria as well. It can provide feedback. It can also assist with creating accessible documents or alt tagging images. With the new updates to the accessibility requirements coming in 2026. Was for digital accessibility. Everything we put in our LMS, our websites, and so on needs to be fully accessible. So if we have images in our class, ChatGPT, Gemini, all them, you can upload the image and say, hey, I need alt text for this. Still, obviously, review it before you copy and put that alt text onto the image, but it can provide brief, long descriptions of that image that you can help with creating that accessible presentation, creating an accessible image for students. Also accessible documents. It can help with, creating accessible headings and stuff like that within a document, because you can ask it to say, hey, create me a PDF of this, or create me a Word doc. And it'll give you a file to download. Still run the accessibility checkers within Adobe or Word, PowerPoint, whatever tool you're using, but, can help get you started with creating those accessible documents or images or, whatever that you're creating. And also scheduling. I mentioned, what I'm going to do with my students later in the semester once we get to time management. It can help with prioritizing your schedule. We're all busy and on 20 different committees and search committees and whatnot. So help prioritize things on your own schedule for the day, week, semester, however long you want to do it. With data-driven insights, our LMSs, we are a Brightspace institution. I'm sure Canvas and Blackboard have similar tools, but within Brightspace, there's a class progress tool that can help us monitor student success, student progress within our classes. All those are driven a little bit by AI, because there's also, in some cases, your LMS may have predictive analytics, to help predict student success in the future in the class. That's AI driven. It can help with personalized learning, again, with opening adaptive learning paths for students based on how they've done on previous exams or tests or interventions and stuff. It can help with target interventions, inform future content, and also, help optimize educational programming for students based on the data that we have been provided. So kind of back to the project, one of the main things that we developed coming out of the project was our checklist. And that is right on the Molly website. And let me just pull that up for you. On our Molly website, and shameless plug for the Maryland Online Leadership Institute, on our site is our AI checklist, and the link to this will be available to you later on. But just wanted to pull up that checklist for you and just kind of take a look at it for you. It ranges from everything from, can you explain why ChatGPT or whatever tool you used gave you that output? Have you cited it? Have you checked it for biases? Does your institution or yourself have an AI related policy? Some institutions do. We're in the process of developing ours. And, is that policy specific enough? And our goal with creating an institutional wide policy was to keep it vague enough where instructors can adapt it for themselves in their classroom, depending on their subjects and personal feelings on it. Hey, AI, it may not be for you. It may not work in your subject. It may not be something you want to do right now. So maybe your AI policy in the classroom is, I don't want to use it all. You can't use it at all. And if you want to use it, you can, and as I'll get into in a couple slides, be transparent, and how you're going to, what AI can be used for. Maybe students are allowed to use it for outlines and whatnot, or hey, you just can't use it on this assignment. Have you cited it? Right now, citations for it are pretty much just similar what everything else has been for MLA, APA, Chicago, whatever is used for your discipline. Instead of like author, it just be ChatGPT or whatever AI generated tool that you used to give acknowledgement to it. So you'll have access to that checklist, and all at the end. I'll have a QR code for you to scan. Has link to the Molly website with our project, as well as tons of other resources that I've gathered from either researching or just other webinars I've taken part in as well. So back to the kind of the policy piece. If your institution does not have anything, creating an AI syllabi policy is key. How is it going to be used in your classroom? Can students use it? Or is it a full-blown no, don't use it? There will be dire consequences if you use it on an assignment. In those resources as well, or there's a Google document came across, I can't remember if it was a webinar, just came across it, where instructors, faculty members from all across the world are posting their own personal syllabus, AI syllabus policies. And they range from, hey, you can use it, to don't you dare touch it, and everything in between. So, it also in the slides, it's linked here as well. But these are just a couple examples. I'm not going to read them, but just again, thinking about your own personal feelings about using AI. Does it even make sense? Right now, I know we kind of get questioned with talking to faculty about it in math and those kind of subjects where it's more complex problem solving going on. It's not there. So maybe your policy is just don't use it, because it's probably going to give you a wrong answer. So those kind of things. Just thinking about how it also makes sense for use within your own discipline too. This is just an example from a professor at George Washington University about just giving students a visual of how they can use AI. Is it permitted? Do you need to ask permission to do it? Or, hey, no, you can't use it at all. So in this example, he teaches sociology for their lit review. Yeah, you can maybe use it for ideas or finding sources that you can go back and review, or just figuring out the theme of your paper and what it's going to be. For what requires permission to use it, constructing an outline, drafting summaries, developing a thesis statement, whatever it is that they're doing. For this, hey, you cannot use it to write your paper. pretty straightforward. But again, this is just giving students a visual at the assignment level and being transparent of how they can use AI if you're going to allow it in your classroom. I mean, the big thing is just being transparent with students. Um, being open with them, especially, if you're going to use it. Hey, I use it here. I used it here. I use it to develop your game we're playing today. Whatever it is, just being transparent in what you do with it. The more transparent you are, hopefully, the more transparent our students will be too. These are just some common tools, top tools that are available today. If I were to do this presentation in 2 weeks, this list could probably change. But as we probably all know, ChatGPT, for content creation, text, docs, images, Claude is very similar to ChatGPT. Claude does do a little bit better if you're needing spreadsheets and stuff like that and analyzing that data. I've noticed again, there's free and paid versions to all this. If your institution is a Microsoft 365 institution, you may have access to Copilot. We do. Students also have access to it as well with their subscription. So, it's something you may already have built in, and you have a paid version of a AI tool available to you. Adobe Firefly, like I mentioned before, is a free image generator through Adobe. Works the same as ChatGPT. Give it a prompt. The more specific you are with the prompt, maybe the better output that you'll receive. Perplexity, that is a kind of a similar tool and research tool to ChatGPT, but also it automatically provides you with resources that where it pulled its information from. It pulled maybe from peer review articles, maybe it pulled from websites, but it tells you right there. It gives you the sources of where it pulled that information from, where it generated for you. Pictory is a text to video generation tool. ChatGPT also has something called Sora that's built in. For a while, you weren't able, it's like a wait list to get into it. I think you're able to get into it now. But Pictory it is free, and also there's a paid version, just like everything. That can take a script or a prompt and create a video, help you create videos for you. For your class, for engagement purposes, or just maybe a welcome announcement to the class using that. Looks like we have a few extra minutes, so I'm gonna just kind of pull up a couple demos here of using just a couple tools. So I'm going to pull up Perplexity just to kind of give you guys that idea of what it can do in helping pull those sources for you. So I'm just going to going to do something basic here. And if you have anything in chat you want me to search, I can also do that too. So I'm just going to ask it for time management, since it's something we talked about today. And I'm just going to ask it for peer-reviewed stuff as well. So, and you see right at the top there, it pulled resources from Arizona State. It pulled from ECU, East Carolina, the student posts, and you can go through each of these sources to see if you want to use them or not. You can click on each one. There's Southern New Hampshire. There's something from Georgia. So maybe it didn't give you. There's a peer-reviewed article, and obviously the topic probably doesn't go to much peer review stuff, but just to give you guys that example of what it can do with pulling each of the resources. And if you wanted to drill down with using Perplexity, you can also drill down to specific topics just by clicking on it to do a follow-up prompt with it. And you'll see it may also give you some images as well, some infographics or anything on the side here, just to help with pulling things in. Here's more specific resources related to time management skills, time management strategies. And again, always review what it gives you. But again, this just helps with locating those resources for you. You know, maybe they're peer reviewed, and like I said, the subject probably doesn't lead to too much peer reviewing, but it gave a lot of resources from colleges of what other colleges provide their students to give you an idea of what you can use in your own classroom. So that's just a quick demo of Perplexity. Again, there's a free and a paid version. They did have a good educator discount. I'm not sure if it's still going on. It was like $5, so I gave it a try for the paid version, but just something to consider. In terms of ChatGPT, I did want to just show you the chatbot that I kind of created for students, that they can just showing you where you can create a GPT and create sort of a chatbot for your own class. I just uploaded just in this example, uploaded a syllabus and my course schedule. So it gave them due dates. So if students wanted to come here, they will need to create an account to use it, which is the one downside to using ChatGPT. There's other chatbot tools out there. I just have not tried them out, but I'm sure they may probably work just as well. But it gives these students these pre-populated questions to ask, and you can edit these to be whatever you want it to be. Hey, here's all the due dates. What are due dates for assignments? Here's the due dates, and it'll tell them. Hopefully, it cuts down on those simple questions that students always ask us: when's this due, or extra credit, whatever, or telling them go read the syllabus. This will help them go, maybe hopefully go review the syllabus. Even if gets a student to do it this way, it's still hopefully getting them at a different level. Maybe it's getting to their level of getting them the quick hitters of what they need to know to be successful in the class. If they're, as we know, we always try to get students to read the syllabus as much as we can, but hey, maybe this will get them to at least review the key information that we need from the syllabus out of there. You can edit this to ask any questions you want. Maybe you want more specific things. You can upload whatever documents you need to it. You can also tell it conversation starters, giving it more information as well within it. So that's just kind of a quick little overview of a few tools. And
Shawn, we have a couple questions in the chat, if that's okay. Is it now a good time?
Go for
Okay.
it.
So Mary's been asking, let me back up here. She wants to know if you have a preference which generative AI tool to use. I know we mentioned Copilot, we mentioned Gemini. I would think she would need to check with her institution for security and privacy. What is your opinion on that?
I have tended to kind of like the outputs ChatGPT has given more. I was using Gemini for a while there, and it may just vary. One, obviously check your institution if there's any security or issues with that. But if you're just using it on your own, ChatGPT has kind of just been my go-to recently, along with Perplexity. I was liking Gemini for a while because one cool thing about Gemini is it would give you multiple drafts of responses, and they would vary. Kind of doesn't do that anymore. The free version has kind of lacked that, and I think they may have paywalled most of their stuff. But it kind of depends on what I'm doing. Claude has also been good, doing more data analysis or anything like that. But again, obviously check any security. But those have been the main tools that I've used and kind of go back to more than the others.
Yeah, thank you. And to follow up, Mary also asked, what is CCBC's policy on faculty sharing student work with any of these tools? So if you as a faculty member were to upload a student's work and check it against a rubric, what are your thoughts about that?
Right now, it's what the college is in the process of developing, with the policy of what can and can't do, those kind of things. I really just like we have with plagiarism tools right now is kind of where we are. Students' work is uploaded to a plagiarism, which again is AI-driven database to judge against, hey, are they plagiarizing? So if you turn it in, or we have ArcInt, or SafeAssign, all those is kind of the same thing, and we're uploading students. So as long as you're telling them, and you can, like I said earlier, you can also tell these tools, hey, don't count my data, don't use my data towards things. Right now it's sort of, we are just leaning on what we've always done. Remove any personal information from things. just take the brunt of the meat and potatoes of the content of what they did, but removing any personal information from things that can identify them. So it's kind of, we're kind of just, it's a wild, wild west right now currently until there's more uh, policy, wherever that may come from, that kind of help guides us. It is kind of the wild, wild west, unfortunately, right now.
Shawn, I think that's super important about what you said about removing names.
Hmm.
And I know we have been telling our faculty, even if you're using Copilot, which is secure, which is not pushing what you enter into the
Hmm.
language model out into the internet, right? You should still always follow this best practices, even if you're using your enterprise version of Copilot or a paid
Yep.
version of ChatGPT. I think that's a super great point. Thank you. Any other questions? We got the expert here.
On the screen is a QR code to, like I said, a bunch of resources linked to our project as a checklist. It also had a top tools list as of 2023, so don't mind that, because obviously everything is constantly changing with AI. What's top today may not be top, next week. So just to keep that in mind with tools and as more and more stuff comes out. But
Okay, if there's no further questions, I think Ron is going to share his screen for a wrap up. Looks like we have one more question for you, Shawn. Looking back on your experiences, is there something you wish you had known early on in the process of using AI?
good one. I don't know if I've ever been asked that. I'm not sure, because this is such a, I don't want to say unknown, but it is such a unknown in terms of what it can do, because we're learning so much and it's just changing so rapidly, um, with everything. I'm not sure if there's anything I would know that I wish I knew early on. I guess it'd just be more of just kind of knowing how things work. Because when we first went into things, um, yeah, let's see about pitfalls. It's really, I would say, just being transparent is probably the main thing. As you use stuff, in the classroom, you know, students like it when you tell them, with things, um, what you did or how you did things. So just being transparent, I think, is probably just the biggest thing.
I think that holds true, especially with conversations with your students, to just have those conversations and be
Yeah.
transparent about when it's allowed, not allowed, and not just at the beginning of the semester, right, Shawn? Like they should
Yeah.
have those throughout the
Oh,
semester as you approach new assignments. Each assignment can have its own AI policy for use. You may allow it for brainstorming for one policy, for one assignment, but not for
hmm.
another. So
Yeah.
just to be clear on that for each assignment.
Dizzy Isabel's question in chat about effective ways. Just starting, honestly, the one time I just asked to post in our, I mostly teach fully online. So I posted in our discussion, just our cafe discussion board, just, hey, anyone using AI? Just bluntly ask them, if is anyone currently using it? If you feel free to share if you want to. And really, I mean, it's not what students know what's out there. They've always found, they've always been a step ahead of us, in terms of using tools, finding tools. They'll teach me, hey, have you heard this tool? I'm like, no, that sounds cool. Go take a look, see what it is. So I mean, it's just kind of starting the discussion from day one, as Alissa said, but continuing on through the semester as do projects, assignments, you know, just incorporating it as a discussion point of, hey, are you or do you plan, are you going to use it? Here's ways that you can use it, being transparent with them for that.
One more question. Have you encountered the idea, tried having students sign a pledge on their use of AI ethically?
Not seen AI pledges, but I mean, it could probably just use the same pledge of academic honesty in terms of, I've seen plenty of instructors have that either in their syllabus or, the honor code, the academic integrity, I won't cheat, or a question before the exam where they, click yes, um, those kind of things. So I'd say you could probably just use the same sort of language that you may have already used for the honor code, with terms of academic integrity, but just make it AI specific, in terms of using AI. Only use AI ethically and define it for them. Tell them what it means, because they use AI, but they don't know what using AI ethically means. Depending on our student population, maybe they're fresh out of high school and they just were getting them out of there. I know I'm watching my niece who's in 10th grade now, and watching her, and I've seen her using them, and I'm like, you slow down in using it. One, make sure you're writing it in your own words. Cool, you're using it, but make sure you're just not taking it one step at a time. And I don't know what's going on in the K through 12 classroom, what's going on there, but when you get to college, here's what's going to happen. So those honor codes, I don't see why not. I haven't seen one specifically geared at AI, but I can't imagine why I couldn't reuse your academic integrity honor code statement and just sort of finesse it to be AI driven.
Yeah, a great example of that is Grammarly. Faculty always said, "Oh, Grammarly's fine. Grammarly's fine." If you haven't looked at Grammarly recently, it is now its own generative AI and
Yeah.
will rewrite paragraphs for students. So it's really important that you have a statement in your syllabus regarding appropriate use of AI and generative tools than to have nothing. Any other questions for Shawn?
And if you have any other questions, you feel free to always reach out to me. I saw in the chat about our policy. I have no problem sharing. I grabbed your email, but scrolled up, probably missed it. But feel free to reach out. Just ask Crosby at ccbcmd.edu.
Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap us up. Thank you so much for joining our session, Shawn. Awesome tools, great energy. Thank you all for the great questions. This recording will be shared out as well as the slides. Wendy, I assume will this be available through the website or in a follow-up email? I don't know if you want to come off of mute and let us know.
Yes, Jenny will send out either today or tomorrow the slides and the recording, and all of the recordings are all on our YouTube channel as well. If you ever miss one or don't get the email, you can always see the recording there. Thanks.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.